Hello everybody, it's Bootza here from the Laser Sports Academy, reporting on the Cascade 2 from the 2022 Zone ZLTAC Australasian Championships. Didn't we see just an unbelievable day of games yesterday? There are teams putting their hand up as being potential contenders for this tournament, left, right and centre. And I'm hoping I can provide a little bit of information and insight from what I saw down here in Northern Rivers, New South Wales, where I'm at the moment. We will be concentrating mainly on kind of around the top 10 today, so I deeply apologise to the other teams that would love a little bit more said about them. Post the tournament, we will do a more deep analysis going into how the whole tournament went, not just the top group, but for now we've just got a short amount of time, so I'm just going to focus on the top group today. And I thought this time around I would actually focus on a different chart, the one I've just created for myself in Excel. It's the field point chart from the Cascade 2 games. So what I've done is I've just popped the top 10 teams in here. They are the field points. It does include denials as well. All I've done is just taken the base points out of the total points and then rank the teams to see where they're at. And it shows up some pretty interesting numbers actually. And I thought we'd focus on that to start with. So as we can see, Spartans have finished the tournament before finals on top of the ladder. Catalyst did catch them a little bit, but still they had a little bit of a buffer there. Yesterday they got 3 firsts, 2 seconds and a third. They essentially, the 2 seconds were very close. There was nothing in it. The third, they got pretty convincingly beaten. It looked like they just had one of those games. Link got denied a bit. They fell behind. They had to do a late game dump. And then actually Aftershock were in control of that game before the dump. And then Catalyst just took better advantage of when Spartans dumped their base and rolled their team through it. And Aftershock were left hanging with 2 people without the base. So they missed out on that one. But I don't think the Spartans would be too worried, except for the fact that it's just a super close comp. Like there's just so many games finishing within a base of first to third, and anybody can win it. Even when you look at these field points, you look at the field points there from first to 10th. There's essentially 2 bases, right? So Cairns will want to make sure he's no more than 2 bases behind any team at any stage in any game, regardless of whether there's a dump on. We have seen teams win with 3 less bases than a team, that is win on field points, but you'd really want to be between 1 or 2 bases in a dump situation, even if you've got a lot of field points up your sleeve to secure the win. So Spartans are looking healthy, 22,700 field points. Second place Storm. Now they, remember it does include only the teams that are in the top 10, so I think I included 4 of their games from yesterday. They did have an easier draw, but they did exactly what they needed to do. They won the games they needed to win. They got, what did they get? 3 firsts, 3 seconds. The 3 seconds, 2 of them were by less than a base, and they were behind good teams like Catalyst and Aftershock. And there was one game they were only like a couple of K behind in second. So they are right up there. They have got a genuine crack at being in that grand final. They've got the profile to do it. They understand strategy inside out. They've got the field point game. They can play the dump game as well. I don't think it suits them quite as much. I think they want to probably play a more controlled game for longer. They are well in contention. Depending on how the game plays out, they'll be well in contention for being that third team in the final, which is great for them. Now we see also up there the Hobart Vikings. I just want to talk about them a bit. So they are field pointing like anything. Like what they're doing differently this year as well is I'm noticing they've got more than one string to their bow. They have got their field point game down, but when the game blows out, they can also hammer through bases as well. It's a real credit. They look like they've prepared well and they've been training, and their strategical play has gone to another level, and they are definitely a team to look out for in finals. They are a team that can match the top teams, being particularly Spartans, on field points in that arena, because they have the pack-on-pack players to do it. So they will be a watch in finals to see if they can get through to the grand final. Now, Aftershock, they'd have to be wrapped with where they're at. They've held their position. They've gone up 1 position to third. They got a first and 5 seconds yesterday. So, they didn't drop any thirds. And in Cascade, if you can avoid dropping thirds, you go a long way to at least retaining your position and sometimes rising. So, they were beaten heavily by Catalyst in the last 2 games. So that'll be their biggest concern, is that Catalyst came home with a wet sail. They came home really strong, and they won games. The last two games they won on bases, like heavily on bases. So this could be their game. If they try to play the field point game, the traditional, you call it the Queensland style or the final style game, where everybody kind of doesn't take any risks and just tries to get the field points in that first half game, they're showing that they don't have that game quite as well nailed down. In the last couple of games, they won the last one. They had 3 extra bases in the last game they played over Aftershock, and then the second last game they had 4 extra bases over Aftershock. So the thing about Catalyst is that they have elite base crackers, and they've got a lot of them. So they can get bases under pressure on the finals day after 10 days of play, no problem. So potentially that's why their average score's a bit lower. They could potentially be going harder for bases, or they could be actually coughing up a few more denials. I'd love to see the stats on the denials from the tournament so far, because that may be a reason why their field points are a little bit lower. They're willing to take more risks to get bases. But if that works for them, if that's going to get them an extra 3 or 4 bases a game than second place, then that is a winning strategy. That's a strategy that will help them take the title home this year. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Aftershock finishing in third. They are, I think there's going to be so many teams rooting for them to be that extra team in finals. Assuming that Spartans and Catalyst go through in the grand final, which they're the 2 favourites to go into the grand final. Anything can happen in finals. Like we're seeing that there's less than a base, or between first to third in a lot of these games, and it's going to go down to the wire in the Golden Games, as it always does. So anything can happen. Spartans and Catalyst could miss out if they are off the game, or if they have a bit of bad luck. But assuming they don't, assuming they go through, there's going to be a bunch of teams looking for that third spot in final. And Aftershock's right in the hunt, with Storm, Vikings as the probably biggest contenders for that third spot in the final at this stage. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the Orc, because I felt like they were really unlucky yesterday. They have beaten the Spartans. They have got a profile to do really well in this tournament. They've got elite base crackers, because if there's a game that only has, if it's a tight game and only 3, 4, 5 bases are going down in the game, they've got Hybrid and Flash out there who can do it. They can take bases off top defences in high pressure situations. They've proven that time after time. So they have the profile to be able to actually compete really well in these games at the end of the in the Golden Games and finals. Unfortunately for them, they lost a game by a point to the Dragons, and I think it was only a couple of K to first in that one. If those results flip, they are in 5th place instead of 10th place currently. It's going to be a big climb for them. It's hard to climb from 10th. You've got to win a lot of games, especially when the games are close. It's hard to win a lot of games in a row. So hopefully they can pull something together. But unfortunately, they've got a long way to climb. But if they can climb, they're gonna be able to compete really well. Eclipse have been inconsistent. Their field points are thereabouts. They're not too bad, just under 19. Probably want to be a little bit higher. But yeah, they probably are still finding their feet and when to pull the trigger on the dumps, reading the game of when they're out of it and when they've got to come back. They have also lost a close one towards the end there last night. What was that one? They lost, 18.5 was first, 18.5 was third, 22 was first. Nobody really pulled the trigger. Everybody just held throughout the whole game. So they missed out by a base or so there. So they're thereabouts. They could still very well take a spot in finals, but they're still not quite as consistent as I'd like to be. The Dragons, big climb yesterday. They did have an easier run through it. They have been doing a fair bit of dumping from what I can see, which is probably the reason why their average score is a bit low, 17.8. You do cough up a lot of field points dumping. You need to be butting your head up against a brick wall trying to get into doors and things, and also denials. So if dumping's your only game that you have, you could be in a bit of trouble. You want to have a few more strings to your bow. You want to be able to play that slow game as well as the dumping game. And then, of course, Blitz as well. They kind of, they dropped a little bit yesterday. Where are they sitting now? They're still sitting in 9th place, still in that top 10. Their field points are a little bit lower. They have been doing a fair bit of dumping as well. Sometimes it's working for them, sometimes it's not. And that's the thing about dumping, is it's a sometimes strategy. You don't want to be having it as your default or your number one strategy. You want to have it up your sleeve for when you need it and be able to play that game if you need to. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to mention Apex too. I feel like Apex is like, they've got 2 new players on their team, or 2 very inexperienced players on their team with Marmaduke and Shaky. Fuggan, who's one of their most experienced players, and from what I understand, is the main driver behind their strategy, particularly in the Rumble when they come over and perform really well there. He's gone to Aftershock, so they have had a fairly significant lineup change, and to still be, where are they now? They're in 8th place. To still be in 8th is really good, and they're kind of close. Like, they're not getting smashed out of the park. They're competing really well. And yeah, their field points are good, 19.5k. Like, they're within a base of Spartans on field points. So anything can happen in a game. If they end up a base or 2 up in a big game against the Spartans, they can beat them. So yeah, best of luck to them as well on the final day. That's all for today, guys. I really hope if you're playing in the tournament, best of luck. If you're not playing in the tournament, if you're sitting at home, I hope this has been handy for you to find out a little bit more about the tournament. And yeah, we'll do a proper rundown after the tournament and go into a lot more depth on all the various areas of the ladder. So thank you for tuning in. I hope these have been useful for you. And yeah, until next time, we'll see you then.